Now that Marvel has rebooted some of the characters, it made us appreciate those movies that we got before the MCU was even a thing. And then now with She-Hulk coming out, I was like, what about Hulk, the 2003 Ang Lee film? Not Incredible Hulk, just Hulk. And he was played by Eric Bana. They dive really deep in all these psychological aspects of suppressed memories, childhood traumas, fears. I ain't gonna lie, it's a very sad and depressing story. It has a very depressing tone to it. Let me know in the comments if you were a fan of Ang Lee's Hulk, and also Hulk, smash that like button. So the movie starts off with the intro of Bruce's dad, David Banner, of how he wanted to create something that was able to help soldiers regenerate themselves out in battle, pretty much self-heal. But General Ross was like, nah, you crazy, don't you go testing that on humans. And he was like, oh, fine, I won't, but ended up testing it on himself. So he really believed in what he was doing. Believed a little bit too much. And sure, nothing happened. I mean, what could go wrong? Nobody found out. But then one night his wife really wanted to get it on, and then he either didn't pull out or he didn't wear a condom.
I'm gonna have a baby.
But that's not the bad part. The bad part is that whatever he had inside him ended up passing on to Bruce. Oh, and did I mention it took about 30 minutes to set this up? Like this, the beginning of this movie just feels like a giant intro montage where Ang Lee is throwing at your face the colors purple and green with all this imagery, whether it's toys, there's DNA visuals that we get, even plants. Like, okay, I get it, Ang Lee, we know it's a Hulk movie, we know he's green and his pants are purple, we get it. And I'm assuming this is where a lot of the criticisms came from people that were saying that this movie is just a lot of talking, there's just too much talking, there's not enough action. In some way I do agree, but I also think that there was a little bit too much action. There's this action scene in the desert that drags on a little bit too much, but we'll get into that later. Bruce grows up with his foster mom. His dad, David Banner, gets sent away for 30 years. He got that R. Kelly treatment, 30 years. I get out, 30 years! And he ends up being a janitor at the facility where Bruce works. I feel like that's a thing when convicts just go away for a really long time, but yet they still want to get revenge. It seems like they always end up working in the janitorial industry. That's why I never trust janitors. I blame the movies for that. Especially when they look like this. Come on, red flag, like people. This Berkeley facility, do you guys not do your research? Does your HR department not care who you guys are hiring? Especially when the former janitor ends up dying and right away this crackhead looking bum shows up and then they decide to hire him. And this facility is, like I mentioned earlier, is where Bruce works with his boy Harper and his ex-girlfriend Betty. And then one day they're working and then this machine just is malfunctioning, so he goes and he throws his friend out of the way before it explodes or whatever happens. I mean, if you look at the scene, he had a chance to get out of the room, but he instead decides to go and put himself in ground zero. Speaking of which, we don't really see what happened because the scene just stops and it just freezes the shot with this terrible tech, terrible special effects, as if we're watching that 70s Hulk TV show. Bruce ends up surviving, nothing really happens to him, everyone's shocked, he's even feeling good about it.
The doctor gave me the full workup. He wants to know where he can get what I'm taking.
Yeah, Bruce, the doctor wants to know what kind of crack you smoking because you sound ridiculous right now. The gamma radiation that got in the accident ended up triggering whatever he was injected with because he's thinking of all this trauma, all these suppressed emotions that causes him to get angry and just releases whatever was inside him. And boom, we have the first official Hulk transformation. And I gotta say, like, the Eric Bana, when he's getting angry, I feel like he's doing like that baby face when you tell a kid to eat his food and they don't really want to eat it because they're saying it's nasty. You know that face when they're like, hey Bruce, come eat your vegetables. And not only does this facility not care about who they hire for a janitor, but they obviously don't have any good security or any security at all because none of this was captured on camera. There was no security guards working the night shift. I mean, of course, General Ross does find out, but only because he finds his wallet there. Speaking of General Ross, Sam Elliott as General Ross, I believe was perfect. I mean, I think every guy who plays General Ross ends up being the same. They have a deep voice. Sam Elliott probably has the deepest. He just pulls off that General Ross look in general. As the story goes along, Bruce's dad just keeps throwing hints that he is not normal, and Betty decides to investigate what in the world happened to Bruce, which ends up being one of the biggest mistakes of her life other than dating Bruce. Because after visiting David Banner's house, he ends up getting her scarf like a creep and feeds it to his dog. But not just any dogs, we have this bulldog and French poodle who are all swooped up on some gamma cocaine, so then they go hunting for Betty. But Hulk is there to save the day. And I gotta say, this dog fight scene, it reminded me a lot of Peter Jackson's King Kong when he's fighting the two dinosaurs. Oh yeah, and one of the dogs bites Bruce's junk off, so I don't think he's planning on using that anytime soon. Then again, he did get bit while he was in his Hulk mode, so I don't know if that affects it when he shrinks down, which makes you think in a very disturbing way, what happens down there when he's the Hulk? Like, does it still function? Does it function better? Worse? Does size really matter?
It's not the size, mate. It's how you use it.
But anyway, Betty decides to call her dad and get Bruce's capture because she, out of good heart, she just wants to help. So then Bruce gets taken to this desert facility, which I was always assuming that it's in the US, but then every time we go to this desert, we hear all this Middle Eastern music playing in the background. I'm over here thinking we're near the Grand Canyon, but the music I hear is Bruce, of course, ends up breaking out, and which eventually starts one of the, I believe, one of the longest running action scenes. I felt like it took too long. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like what I saw here, but I just felt like it just dragged on a bit too much. And it also let us know that Hulk is not just a Hulk, but he should be in the Olympics. This man is an Olympian. Look at him. He is a runner. He's a sprinter. He should be in a relay race because he can clearly run around in circles. Look at this form of long jumping. And it just drags all the way until he gets back to the bay. And Betty decides to take it upon himself to calm him down, which I believe gives us one of the most, if not the most, at least one of the most emotional and iconic scenes in the movie. Bruce ends up getting captured yet again, but David decides to turn himself in order to talk to Bruce, but he ends up going a little bit worse. He's more abnormal than before. And I don't know if this is a comic book character from the comics, but he ends up just absorbing whatever he touches. And we have our final fight with Bruce, which in reality is just more flashbacks as Bruce is drowning. So in the end, I really didn't mind the approach that they took with this movie. I think it dives very deep into the mind, onto all these psychological aspects. It definitely feels a lot more grounded. I mean, it does have its flaws. There are some stuff that drags on that it could have cut out. I think there's a lot more character development as opposed to that MCU film. I also like the fact that throughout the movie they have these edits where we see all these different scenes put together in the style of a comic book. So I really appreciated that. So what are your thoughts on 2003's Hulk? Let me know in the comment section below. If you want to know what I think about MCU's Incredible Hulk, and if you want to know how I rank all the Hulks that we ever gotten, then just click right here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Keep watching this channel and keep watching movies.